What's going on, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com. You have to admit the myTouch line is a pretty popular Android line on T-Mobile. You have the myTouch 3G, the myTouch 3G Slide, the myTouch 4G. What do you think is going to come after that? Well, you guessed it, the myTouch 4G Slide. It's available, or it's going to be available rather, on July 19th through a special web-only pre-sale and available in stores on July 27th for $199.99 after a $50 mail-in rebate. Now this bad boy's packed. They've really worked and reworked the internals on this device. So it's not just a myTouch 4G with a keyboard. It has a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz processor, 8-megapixel camera, which HTC and T-Mobile are touting as one of the most advanced cameras on a smartphone ever. So you have Android 2.3, HTC Sense 3.0, and then of course, not to be forgotten, you have that nice physical QWERTY keyboard as well. Is this a device for you, or should you go with something like the G2X or the Sensation? Two very awesome devices in their own respects. We'll find out that and more in Phone Dog's review of the HTC T-Mobile myTouch 4G Slide. But first, special thanks to our friends at Best Buy. They always hook us up with phones like this and all kinds of goodies for use during One Paw Bandit games. So when you walk into Best Buy Mobile to get this or to get the Droid 3 or any device, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, and more, so you're taken care of when you walk out that door. Now, is this a phone for you? We'll find out. Let's get it started. Phone Dog's review. T-Mobile myTouch 4G Slide starts right now. So if you look at T-Mobile's Android lineup, it's pretty predictable. You look at the T-Mobile myTouch 3G, then came the T-Mobile myTouch 3G Slide. The T-Mobile myTouch 4G, well, you guessed it, the T-Mobile myTouch 4G Slide is finally here. It's available on July 19th through a special web-only pre-sale, and it's available on July 27th in T-Mobile retail stores for $199.99 after a $50 mail-in rebate. Now, it's going to be available in khaki and in the black color, which you see here, and they really bumped it up from the original T-Mobile myTouch 4G. Now you look at the specs, they include a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon processor, 3.7-inch high-resolution Super LCD display. It has HTC Sense 3.0, Android 2.3, so out of the box, it's packing quite the specs list. Now, interestingly enough, HTC and T-Mobile have billed the myTouch 4G Slide's camera as they call it, the most advanced camera of any smartphone. I did read that off the press release. I'm kind of cheating, but hey, that's what they're calling it. They're saying it competes with the iPhone, competes with all the other high-end Android devices on the market as well. So we'll put that to the test in the full review. But front-facing camera as well. So all in all, it really looks a lot like the original myTouch 4G, but it does have that physical QWERTY keyboard as well that's very reminiscent of the myTouch 3G Slide. So really, take the design of the 4G, kick it in that 3G-like form factor, 3G Slide form factor rather, and you can see the similarities. But good looking device, like I said, Android 2.3 with HTC Sense 3.0. Now out of the box you get some T-Mobile pre-installed applications. You get Bejeweled 2, you get HTC's FriendStream, which is obviously an HTC thing, but it's a social aggregation software which allows you to bring in MySpace, Facebook, Twitter. Then you get Highlight by T-Mobile, KidZone, let's see what else, Netflix, T-Mobile's My Account, My Device, Polaris Office, you see T-Mobile Mall, Setup, T-Mobile TV, Quick Video Chat, and then, of course, Wi-Fi calling and Wi-Fi hotspot. Now, it's running what's called an espresso build of HTC Sense 3.0. So it's a version that's customized specifically for T-Mobile's myTouch line. And you can see the differences here in the applications drawer as opposed to something like the HTC Sensation 4G or HTC Evo 3D. You can see the changes down here. It still scrolls up and down, so no changes there. And you can see some similarities with things like the notifications bar where you have your quick app, or your recent apps rather, and your quick settings over here where you can change your Wi-Fi, you turn on Wi-Fi hotspot, and of course you can access that task manager, which I'll talk about in just a second. But down here a little bit of a difference, and you can see the changes across the board and things from the personalization menu all the way across the board to settings and more. So some differences there. Also another difference you'll see, it does have that carousel-like rotation effect that you know from HTC Sense 3.0, but there are only 5 home screens. So when I pinch to bring those out, you can see 5 as opposed to 7 on the Sensation and the Evo. So there are some changes to this as opposed to the Evo 3D and the Sensation 4G. Let's dive in and take a look at some of those. First of all, the app drawer here is different. As you can see, this overall app drawer down at the bottom. You have messages, internet, and contacts. The shortcuts down here at the bottom, you can, of course, pull those out if you want to and reassign new things down at the bottom. Then you have the call button down here as well. Let me pull that out so I can see and make sure. Okay, yeah, there we go. You can see that, again, a myTouch-centric version of the dial pad as well, a little bit of a difference there. And then, of course, you can scroll over and see contacts, groups, phone, call log, voicemail, and more. So some differences there. And also, with HTC Sense 2.0 came the personalization menu. It was a little bit of a change from stock Android because when I click on this, you'll notice that the personalized screen comes up as opposed to that typical Android box in the middle which gives me some basic options like widgets, folders, wallpapers, and adding shortcuts. So a difference here, you can see it's different though, like I said, from Sense 3.0 on the Sensation and the Evo 3D. First of all, these are grayed out, kind of black and white icons here. You do not have the option to change the lock screen, so while it is a Sense 3.0 lock screen, you can see you don't have those shortcuts like you do on the Evo and the Sensations lock screen. So you have that, but you do have your wallpaper, your themes as well. You can change your themes. Now you can't add themes. This does not come with HTCSense.com, and it does not come with HTC Hub, which you remember from a lot of the HTC devices, Sensation 4G, Inspire 4G on AT&T, and more. It does not have that, so if you can't decide between one of your 6 themes that are pre-installed, well, you're out of luck because you can't install customized ones from the HTCSense.com store. So you don't have that on here. You do have a lot of the HTC widgets though, and you can see some of the differences here, how they have 2 calendars. One is HTC, one is the stock Android widget. You can see here HTC, for example, we'll click on it, and it brings up the calendar, and you can see you have the month view, the agenda view, and then of course the shortened view as well. So you have a couple of options as to what you want. What I really am proud of with HTC, the customizable widgets. You have a bunch of different options. Not only are the widgets very beautiful, but you have a lot of different options when it comes to widget sizes, when it comes to the type of widget you want. They realize that not one size fits all, and they really want you to be able to personalize your device in the way that you see fit. So that's a cool feature as well. So enough of that. Those are some of the differences rather on HTC Sense 3.0 on the Espresso build. Let's take a look at the keyboard on this device and jump into messages. Let's go this way. And we'll come in here and take a look at both the on-screen virtual keyboard and the physical keyboard as well. So let's see here. First of all, you have a couple of different options on the virtual front. You have swipe, and then you have HTC's touch input keyboard. And the touch input keyboard, one of the best on the market when it comes to Android keyboards. It's fantastic. The auto correction is very good. And even on a 3.7-inch display, which is small by some standards, it still works really well in the auto correction department. So let's do the quick brown fox. Is ready for the weekend. I feel like the Quick Brown Fox is a bit too lazy, but the Quick Brown Fox is ready for the weekend. Of course, you can use it in portrait or in landscape, and even though it's a 3.7-inch display in landscape, it's a little bit easier to type on for those with larger thumbs, people that are members of the Fat Finger Club, like yours truly. So you see here's the physical QWERTY keyboard as well. They're island keys, they're spaced well, and then they're in the typical QWERTY layout. As you can see, like a keyboard, like a computer keyboard, and then it has a dedicated row for spacebar and commonly used symbols along with your Genius button, symbol, alt, home, and menu as well. So let's say just the Quick Brown Fox. Actually, we'll type the same thing. How about that? The Quick Brown Fox. And this is something I mentioned in the unboxing video, but the keys are a little bit tight to me. They're hard to press. I'm hoping that with time that'll get a little bit better, but actually I should keep typing. Is ready for the weekend. Hopefully that'll get a little bit better as time goes on, but you look at this versus something like the Droid 3, which just came out, and the keyboard on the Droid 3, at least in the keyboard department, head-to-head would win every single time against the myTouch 4G's keyboard. The keys are just better spaced. They're the way they're angled is a little bit better, and overall I think the keyboard experience, the keys are more tactile, so the travel is a little bit better across the keys. That said, this is certainly a good keyboard, and they've done a good job of preserving the size of this device without, it's not too thick. You can see it's almost identical to the original myTouch device, not that much thicker when you really look at it, yet it has that physical QWERTY keyboard. 1,520 milliamp hour battery in the back as well while I'm thinking about it. But overall, those are your keyboard options. Let's take a look at the browser and see, and I'm actually going to have to kick it on Wi-Fi because T-Mobile's 4G, at least on this device, has been having issues since I've been working with it. I'm not sure if it's a 4G outage in the area, if it's a nationwide thing that's happening, but as you can see, it keeps cutting in and out. The 4G keeps disappearing, so I have to kick it onto Wi-Fi whenever I want to use data, but we'll do that and give it a test here. So we're going to load up Wi-Fi, we'll make sure it's on, go to all settings, we're going to get that kicked on for you. And go to Wi-Fi settings, and we'll go to Baker, and I'm going to put in my password, my secret password, 9,000. There we go. And it's obtaining, and then we'll get Wi-Fi kicked on. We'll go to phonedog.com, which should be everybody's favorite website. Let's see here. PhoneDog. It's hard to do without that autocorrection. PhoneDog.com. And it'll load up pretty quickly. Again, 3.7-inch display. Some will argue that the 4-inch mark, which I've said this before, I think the 4-inch mark is a nice balance between too big, 4.3 inches, or even huge, 4.5 inches, and too small, like 3.5 inches. on the iPhone 4. So 3.7, you know, it's right there in the middle. It's still a little bit on the small side for a lot of people, but I think it's certainly doable for people, you know, first-time smartphone users and people that don't need a huge display. So you can see pinch to zoom, decent on this. Browser performance overall is very good. This is running Android 2.3, so of course Flash is enabled out of the box. You can see our advertisements on the site running in the background, and then of course portrait and landscape as well. Now, one thing I really like about HTC Sense, and I've talked about this in a lot of the videos with HTC devices, go to Windows and you can see that it brings up a preview of where I left off. So let's add a second window. Let's say, no, just for sake of it, CNN.com. And then I'll go over here and I'll go back to PhoneDog, and you can see when I scroll back over, it leaves that preview intact. So I know exactly where I left off. I can scroll in on Carly, as you can see, the T-Mobile commercial, and then when I come back out from Windows, you can see that it leaves it zoomed right where I left off. So I always know where I am, which is a nice touch on Census part. So again, browser performance very good, and those little nice elements make for an easy transition from a feature phone or, you know, something else to a smartphone for those first-time smartphone buyers.